I came home to find my aunt's suitcase open on our hallway rug and my cousin's glitter shoes sitting in the fruit bowl. My mother was at the kitchen counter with her phone on speaker. She was telling someone that family was everything and that it would be fun to have house guests for a whole month. It had already been 2 weeks. My aunt, Paula, said she needed a reset. She was between rentals. She was also between plans, jobs, and early nights. She brought her 4-year-old daughter, Ellie, who I love. I am 20 and home for the summer from community college. I work the early shift at the bakery, then study in the afternoons. I like a clean room and a door that closes. That first night told me none of that would matter for a while. We were still standing in the doorway when Paula called into the living room that Ellie was hungry. She turned to me and said that I could make lunch. I still had my shoes on. I made a sandwich for Ellie because she was rubbing her eyes and holding her belly. Paula watched me slice the crusts and said the sandwich looked good, so I made one for her too. My mother asked for tea, so I made that as well. It felt small. I told myself to be easy about small things. That night, Paula took the spare room. I learned that Ellie would be sleeping with me when Paula dropped 2 pillows at my door at 10:30. She said the big bed would help Ellie settle, and that if Ellie needed the bathroom in the night, I should take her. I said okay because Ellie looked shy. At 2 in the morning, Ellie whispered my name. I took her down the hall, waited, carried her back, then lay awake until the birds started. By day 3, I had a list in my head. I had done 2 baths, 4 trips to the park, 1 emergency laundry load after Ellie spilled juice, and 1 grocery run. Paula borrowed my shampoo and left the cap off. She used my hair dryer and my charger. She changed my Netflix profile to a cartoon and logged out of mine. Every time she did something like that, she said, "It's just for now." On day 4, I came home from the bakery just after noon. Paula had her feet on our coffee table and a tumbler with ice beside her. She asked if I could throw together grilled cheese for everyone because she had a headache. My mother handed me a skillet. I made 4 sandwiches and a small salad. Ellie ate 2 bites and wanted crackers. Paula asked if I had gas in my car to take Ellie to the mall play area. I said I needed to study. My mother said the mall would be good for Ellie's development. I took Ellie to the mall. I watched her run through plastic tunnels while other people's shoes went past my ankles. The next day, Ellie woke with a low fever. Paula called her a little warm and said a movie day would fix it. She put a show on the TV in my room and asked if I could sit with Ellie while she grabbed groceries. Paula posted a story from a patio bar at 2 in the afternoon. At 5, she came home with flowers and a small piece of fancy cheese. She had forgotten children's medicine. I walked to the corner store and bought it. I paid with my card because Ellie needed it then. I knew what Paula was like before this visit. 2 summers ago, I stayed with her for a weekend. She promised a beach day. We went to a crowded bar because, as she said, everyone was there. I held 2-year-old Ellie in a patch of shade while Paula took photos with her friends. Ellie threw up from heat. I rinsed her shirt in a bathroom sink and took a rideshare back to Paula's apartment because Paula said she just needed 20 minutes. She came home after midnight. The next morning, she told me not to be intense. I went back to my city on a quiet train and promised myself I would keep visits short. Somehow, that promise faded when she needed a place to stay. Week 1 slid into week 2. Paula invited a couple she knew to stop by for a bit. They stayed until 1 in the morning. I had to be at work at 5. I washed wine glasses before I left so my mother would not wake to a mess. Paula used our Ring camera to track a package, but she ignored the clips that showed her getting home after midnight on 3 different nights. Ellie slept in my bed every one of those nights. 3 times, Paula told Ellie to call me Mama Amy. I corrected it to Cousin Amy each time. Paula laughed and said, "I was basically a second mom anyway." I did not laugh. I do not want to be a stand-in for anyone's job. Most days ran the same. I worked the morning shift. I came home and cooked something because both of them said they had not had time. I cleaned up. I played with Ellie while my aunt and my mother had sister time, which meant 2 drinks and a loud show. I took Ellie to brush her teeth and read the same 3 books until her eyes closed. I slept in the slice of mattress left for me. I got up in the night when Ellie whispered that she needed the bathroom. In the morning, I folded small socks, set out yogurt, and went back to the bakery. I kept telling myself it would only be a month and that a person can do a hard month. Then the other things started. One afternoon, Paula asked to borrow my car for a quick errand. I said yes because she said it would be 20 minutes. She came back 2 hours later. There was a parking notice tucked under the wiper. The notice carried my plate number because it was my car. Paula waved it off and said there were no open spaces and the officer was unfair. My mother said we would sort it later. Later turned into never. The fee came to my account a week after. I paid it because I could not risk a hold on my registration. Paula said she would pay me back. She has not. The next day, Paula needed my laptop to stream a show because her phone battery was low. She set the computer on the coffee table and logged into a free site. Pop-ups bloomed on the screen. When I got the laptop back, my school email had 3 warning messages about unsafe logins. I had to run a scan and change 2 passwords. Paula said computers make a big deal out of nothing. I closed the lid and carried the laptop to my room like it was a sandwich I wanted to keep clean. 2 days later, she asked if I could take Ellie to a trial class at a children's gym. She said she had called ahead and told them I was Ellie's parent for the form. She said it was simpler that way. I told her I would not sign anything that listed me as Ellie's parent. She said I was difficult. I said I was honest. She said I was being dramatic again. I said I would not go. She took Ellie herself and came back angry because the gym had asked for her ID and an emergency contact, and she did not have the second part. She asked why I did not warn her. I said I did, and then I went to my room. I tried to build in 1 hour for myself. I told them I was going to take a bath and would be gone for a while. Paula shouted to Ellie that she should get in with me. I said no. Paula said I was making it hard. My mother came into the hall and told me not to make a scene in front of Ellie. The scene was already there. I said I would not bathe a child so her parent could use my hour. My mother's face closed. She told me to help because we are family. I closed the bathroom door and locked it. I ran my bath. I cried into the steam because the door had a lock, but the rest of the house did not. That night, I slept at my friend Jess's apartment. Jess works nights at the hospital and keeps a neat living room with 2 blankets on the couch. She handed me a spare key and said I could stay for as long as I needed. I slept through the night and woke to silence. I made coffee and stood at her window until my shoulders came down. The next morning, I went home to pick up textbooks. Paula had my laundry basket on the living room floor as a toy bin. Ellie wore my high school t-shirt with the sleeves cut off. It was dragging at the hem. My mother acted like nothing had happened. She said they were going to the outlet mall and asked if I could watch the roast in the oven. I said no. I said I was going to the library. Paula rolled her eyes and called me our little judge. I put my notebooks in my bag and left. That afternoon, I wrote out a clean list. I wrote down dates. I wrote tasks and costs I had covered since they arrived. I printed a calendar for the coming week and put blocks for cleanup, laundry, bedtime, and errands. I taped it to the fridge with blue tape. I wrote another note in big letters. Ellie will sleep in the spare room or in Paula's room, not in mine. I set Ellie's small bedding on the sofa and told Paula she could set up a nest there or move her things into the spare room again. I showed the notes to my mother. She said I was being cold. I said I was being clear. I also put 2 receipts on the counter. One was the children's medicine. One was a grocery run I did when our fridge held only condiments and a bottle of white wine. I asked Paula to reimburse me when she could. I did not set a date. I wanted it on record that I paid, and I wanted to see if she would act like an adult without being pushed. Paula tore the schedule off the fridge and dropped it in the sink. She said she would not be managed. She told my mother I was embarrassing her. I asked what was embarrassing about clean blocks of time and names on the blocks. She said it was the tone. I looked at my mother. My mother stared at a spot on the floor and did not speak. I packed 2 changes of clothes, my charger, and my textbooks. I told my mother I loved her and that I would be at Jess's for a few nights. I told her that when she was ready to talk about boundaries, I would be ready too. I went to the door. Ellie ran across the room and hugged my knees. She asked if I would draw a cat with her tomorrow. I said I would draw a cat on Saturday in the park if her mother came too. Then I left. Jess made pasta and let me talk without pushing me toward anger. She has a voice that stays level when other people would raise theirs. She said the word boundary twice and then changed the subject to a snack she wants to learn to bake. I fell asleep on her couch and woke up with no one whispering my name in the dark. The house did not rattle with late doors. No Ring camera clip popped up on my phone. The next morning, my mother called to ask when I was coming home. I told her I could come for lunch to see Ellie in the yard. I arrived with muffins from the bakery. Paula came out in sunglasses at noon. She said she needed to grab a few things and asked if I could hang with Ellie for an hour. I told her I had plans at 1. She told me to be flexible. I told her to be present. She told me I was talking back. I felt my mouth get hot. I did not argue. I stayed exactly 1 hour because Ellie had her crayons set up and I love her. I drew a cat that looked like a potato. At 1, I told my mother I was leaving. Paula came back at 1:15 with a smoothie. She did not say thank you. That night, my mother sent me a long message about how she did not recognize me. She said I had become hard. I typed a reply and deleted it. I took a screenshot of the Ring camera history that showed entries after midnight on 4 straight nights. I sent the photo with 1 line. This is what I am responding to. On Friday, I stopped by to get more clothes. Paula had friends over again. Ellie sat on my floor pulling my bracelet apart. I sat with her and showed her how to put the beads in a dish. I asked my mother if Paula was sleeping in the spare room. She said yes. I asked where Ellie was sleeping. She said wherever she landed. My mother is not a cruel person. She is a person who wants peace and will pay any price for a short piece of it. I called my uncle, Paula's older brother. He is direct. He keeps his voice low even when he is angry. I told him I would not give details because it was not my story to give. I told him a child did not have a steady bed and that I was moving out until the end of the month. I asked him to check in. He said he would. He called Paula that night. I know because I heard the echo of her voice on the porch when she yelled into the phone. Saturday morning arrived, the day the schedule would have started if it had been allowed to stay on the fridge. Paula woke hungover and angry. She said she would take Ellie to the park. She left without a bag or a sweater for Ellie. She came back 40 minutes later because Ellie was cold. She made instant noodles and left the pot in the sink. She told my mother she needed time to reset and went to sleep on the couch while Ellie watched a cartoon. My uncle arrived at noon. He sat at the table with Paula and my mother. He did not shout. He asked who would take Ellie to her doctor checkup on Monday. He asked who was buying groceries. He asked who was paying the bills. He asked where Ellie was sleeping. Paula said everyone was being dramatic. My uncle said he was taking Ellie to his place for 2 nights so everyone could rest. He packed a small bag and left with Ellie. Paula stormed into the yard. My mother cried. I stayed at Jess's and washed my hair in a quiet bathroom. On Sunday, I came home to pick up mail. Paula's suitcase was open on the spare bed. The sheets were off the mattress. My mother folded towels at the kitchen table with red eyes. She said she felt ashamed. She said she thought she was helping Paula by taking on Ellie and had not seen that she was handing Ellie to me instead. She said she was sorry. I believed her. We stood there for a while without speaking. Then we put clean sheets on the spare bed together. Paula returned while we were smoothing the top sheet. She said she would leave on Tuesday because a friend had a room. She did not say where the friend lived. She did not mention the 2 receipts. She hugged Ellie when my uncle brought her back and told her that Mama was just tired. Ellie looked at me and then at the floor. I knelt and told her I loved her and that I would draw again with her next time I visited her new place. I meant it. On Monday, my mother and I took Ellie to the pediatrician. We both listened and asked questions. The doctor suggested a sleep routine with set times. We nodded and wrote it down. We bought groceries on the way home. Bread, fruit, yogurt, eggs, pasta, and a small treat for Ellie. My mother paid half, I paid half. It felt like the house shifted back onto its legs. Paula left on Tuesday morning. She took the flowers and left the fancy cheese at the back of the fridge where it hardened into a block. She hugged my mother and said she would pay me back for the medicine and the groceries when she got settled. She has not. I did not chase it. I stapled the receipts into my notebook and wrote unpaid next to the dates. I changed my Netflix password that night. I put a small basket of Ellie's crayons in the hall closet so they would be ready for short visits, not long ones. The house was quiet again. I washed my sheets twice with hot water and let them dry all the way. That night I slept alone and woke with the sunlight on my wall. No one whispered my name at 2 in the morning. The Ring camera clip that popped up was the mail carrier at noon. I watched it and smiled. My mother and I sat down that weekend and wrote rules in plain words. We taped them to the fridge with fresh blue tape. If a guest stays longer than 3 nights, we agree on chores and beds before they arrive. Any adult guest with a child is responsible for that child at night and in the morning. No bringing people home after midnight. Do not hand out someone else's time. Ask, then wait for a yes. We also wrote 2 lines about money. If you borrow, write the amount and the date you will return it. If you use someone's supplies, you replace them. It did not make our home cold to say these things. It made it fair. Paula called a week later from her new place. She asked if my mother was still mad. My mother said she was tired. Paula said she would do better, then posted a photo from a rooftop bar that night. A week after that, she asked if I could watch Ellie for a weekend. I told her I could do a Saturday afternoon in the park with my mother there. I would not do a whole weekend. She called me uptight. I said, "Okay, B." She found another plan. The world did not break. Ellie still visits now, but for afternoons. We draw cats that look like potatoes, and we eat popsicles on the back steps. When the sun dips and Ellie gets drowsy, Paula picks her up and takes her home. I wave from the door. I close it. I lock it. I run my own bath in a quiet house and leave the door open because I can. A candle burns on the counter because I like the smell of clean cotton. No one knocks. People ask how it turned from chaos to calm without a fight. The truth is simple. I wrote down what was happening. I set a date for change. I said no to things that were not mine. I moved out for a few nights, so my words meant something. I told one adult who could step in and would not make it a show. I let other adults feel the weight of their own choices. When help was asked for again in a clean way, I gave a small amount in a clean way. I kept receipts, not for revenge, but for memory. I did not try to win applause. I tried to get sleep. There are details I have not mentioned that show the shape of those weeks more clearly. I list them here because lists helped me. Paula used my good towels for makeup removal and left them stained. I put them in a bin marked rags and bought 2 new towels with my own money. I wrote the date on the receipt and kept it. She rearranged our kitchen drawers and moved the knives to a different spot. My mother and I moved them back and wrote a small map on the inside of a drawer. Paula borrowed my raincoat and returned it damp and crumpled. I hung it, smoothed it, and stopped leaving it on the coat tree. The Ring camera showed Paula sitting on the porch steps at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday, smoking and laughing on the phone. I did not send her the clip. I sent it to myself so I would not argue with my own memory later. When she told me I was exaggerating, I looked at the clip and felt steady again. Paula asked to use my blender for a smoothie and did not rinse it. I rinsed it and put it back on the shelf. The next time she asked, I said, "Please rinse it after." She said I was fussy. I said I like the blender clean. Saying that out loud felt small and brave. It is easier to keep telling the truth when you start with a blender. Paula switched the thermostat to a low setting when she had a hot flash. She left it there all afternoon. The bill arrived a month later and my mother sighed. We set a simple rule after that. Only my mother adjusts the thermostat. It is her name on the bill. If a guest is hot, they can use the fan. Ellie liked to sit on my bed and sort my bracelets. I let her do it when I could sit with her. When I could not, I put the bracelets in a box on my shelf and closed the door. I told her we would play with them another time. She pouted once. Children will test a door that closes. It is our job to make sure the hinge works. Some people think you need a dramatic speech to fix a family problem. I thought that too for a few days. I pictured myself standing in the living room and telling Paula everything she had done wrong. I even wrote notes for it. Then I pictured what would happen after. She would cry, then she would defend herself, then she would sleep, then she would do the same things again. Instead of a speech, I chose a list and a move to a friend's couch. That changed more than any speech could have. Not every person has a Jess to offer a couch. I am lucky. If I did not have her, I would have asked a different friend for a spare bed for 2 nights. Or I would have booked the cheapest motel I could for 1 night to break the pattern. The point is the same. Show your home that you mean what you say by leaving for a short time. Houses learn from exits. I also learned how to talk to my mother without breaking us. When she said I had become hard, I did not send a paragraph. I sent the Ring camera clip and 1 sentence. When she said I was embarrassing Paula, I asked what was embarrassing about blocks on a fridge. When she realized she had handed me Ellie without seeing it, she cried and apologized. I did not use that moment to lecture her. I helped her make the bed. We have been closer since then. Clean rules help love breathe. 3 months after Paula left, my grandmother called me to say she had heard I had been cruel. I told her I had moved out for a few nights so I could sleep. I told her Ellie now had a steady bedtime at Paula's new place and also at my uncle's when she stayed there. I told her that was the only part that mattered. My grandmother fell quiet. Then she said she was proud that I kept my hands on the wheel when everyone else dropped it. Grandmothers do not talk like that often. I put the phone down and cried for 5 minutes and then made tea. Paula has not paid me back for the medicine or the groceries. She may not. I could chase it, but the cost in time and stress would be higher than the numbers on the receipts. I keep the slips in my notebook so I do not forget. When she asks for big favors now, I answer with a small one I am willing to do. I say yes to the park with my mother for 2 hours. I say yes to drawing and snacks. I do not say yes to overnights or days that replace a parent. Saying no does not feel mean anymore. It feels like standard practice. What did I learn that summer? I learned to name what is mine and what is not. I learned that people who call you uptight often want your time for free. I learned that a schedule on a fridge can be a shield. I learned that a quiet exit does more than a loud fight. I learned that children adjust to steady rules faster than adults. Ellie now knows which bed is hers at our house. She knows which basket holds her crayons. She knows where the timer is for cleanup. She does not test me often because I do not wobble. 2 last things help me keep the house steady. First, I keep a small envelope in a drawer labeled House Guest. Inside is a printed list of our rules and a simple schedule template. If someone needs to stay, we fill it out together on day 1. It has blanks for chores, bedtime, laundry, and meals. It has a space that says, "Where will you sleep?" It has another that says, "When will you leave?" It is not a contract. It is clarity. Second, I keep one day a week with a block that says Amy only. I run a bath, or I take a long walk, or I sit in a cafe with a book. I do not move that block. People can work around it. If you want a clean ending, here it is. Ellie still draws cats with me. My mother asks before she hands out my time. Paula visits for a few hours and then goes home. The fruit bowl holds fruit. The Ring camera shows normal porch life. The blue tape on our fridge still holds our rules. It looks a little worn, which is a good sign. Rules that are used often get scuffed. On some nights, I take a bath with the door open. The house is quiet, and the quiet does not feel heavy. I get in the tub and no one knocks. I hear my mother moving in the kitchen and putting things where they belong. I think about the first night when the suitcase lay open and the glitter shoes sat in the fruit bowl. That was the start. This is the finish. I do not need to make it larger than it was. It was a month of learning how to say no and mean it. It was a month of putting a child's bedtime ahead of an adult's party. It was a month of choosing a friend's couch over a house that would not hear me. It was a month that taught me how to run my home with simple lines. Now, when Paula texts me about a get-together, I answer if I can and say I will be leaving at 7. I leave at 7. When Ellie asks for another story at bedtime, I say yes to one more and then turn out the light. When my mother asks if we can host a cousin for a weekend, we pull out the envelope before we say yes. We fill in the blanks together. We are not perfect. We are clear. If someone hands you a month like the one I had, take a notebook out. Write down what you did today that was not yours. Put a date on the page when it needs to change. Tell one person who will act without drama. Pack a bag for 2 nights. Sleep. Come back with rules. Take them up. That is the path I took. It worked. Ellie will bring home a school project in the fall. It will be a paper crown or a handprint turkey or a cup full of dirt with a seed in it. She will want to show us. We will all look. We will clap the way adults do when a child holds up glue and paper. Then Paula will take Ellie home. My mother will close the door. I will rinse the glue off the counter and smile because the house can hold visits now without swallowing us. That is all I wanted. That is what we got.